Welcome to our SQL event. We're going to wait a couple minutes for people to start coming in here. As always, why don't you drop in where you're calling in from this evening, this morning, wherever it may be. We have a great community all over the world. It's always great to see where everyone's coming in from. We have Virginia. Excellent. I'm going to type in myself, Rochester, New York. How about you, James? Where are you located?
I'm in Sydney, Australia. It's
Sydney, Australia.
early morning for me.
Early morning for you, late afternoon for me. Why don't we could do maybe quick intros about ourselves, James, while we wait for a little bit more people coming in. Also, I am going to put out a poll. It looks like our poll is already out there. Awesome. See where you guys are at in terms of your software skills, whether beginner, intermediate, expert. Just want to make sure that we cater what we're kind of going to give to you today at that level to make sure everyone's understanding it well. Rochester, you grew up there, Caitlin. That's crazy. It's a small town, Knoxville, Tennessee. James, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? I'll get into myself and then we'll start the presentation.
Sounds good. Thanks, JJ. So if you've seen me around, been at Softr for a bit over a year and a half now, and I'm the senior project manager. So probably recently would have seen me on the conditional forms webinar. We're excited to run the SQL data sources, but exciting things happening at Softr at the moment with some big releases. So the team got really stuck into this one, and we're happy to get this out the door. I'm really excited to see. I think it was 100 registrants for this webinar, right, JJ? So
Yep.
super excited to show you guys how it will come together.
And what other releases have you done? So, conditional forms release, SQL release, anything else that you're working on that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, the other big plug recently would have been BigQuery. The, like as a little taste test, there's definitely some more data sources coming up in the backlog. That's really the strategy for this year is build a ton of data sources, meet people where they're at with where their data sources are, so they can build awesome apps with Software.
At least that's your strategy. We have several other PMs that are in different areas too. Well, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can see Getter, for example, has been working on getting started with it with a data source. So there's some improvements to that flow as well. Kuber's working on some more user management stuff, so user filtered things. So there's plenty happening on it software at the moment. So
Then the block
really,
redesign, Austin.
that's probably the most exciting one, to be honest. Like getting a new revamp of how your blocks look. It's really cool. So you would have seen the grid block and the item details block. More to come. So very exciting space.
Yeah, I'm actually most excited about the block container, being able to have blocked in column,
That's
multiple
right.
column. Oh, that's
Yeah,
gonna be
it'll
so
be a big
cool,
one.
especially for the dashboard look. And now with the upcoming headers and everything coming out with block redesign, it's gonna look really great. But anyways, I'm JJ. I'm your community and education lead here at Softr. I'm kind of everywhere. I'm helping out with the expert program. I'm creating our first software certification at the moment. I also do all the videos for our YouTube channel, getting ready to update our academy as well. So all things community and education front. But without any further ado, it's 4 minutes into this. Why don't we get started? So I'll bring that right back to the beginning. And of course, today's presentation is about building internal tools or client portals or really anything with Softr and SQL. SQL, as James is going to show you, is a really powerful database and then unlocks unlimited possibilities. So James, it's all you.
Yeah. So what is SQL? I'm sure a lot of you have an idea of it, being no code builders. But really it's a tool for managing data. And it's been around long before no code solutions like Airtable or SmartSuite, or even Google Sheets. And really companies have needed a strong, reliable system to handle large amounts of data. And I think the key word there will be efficiently. So SQL databases were created to meet that need. You can think of them as kind of highly organized digital files, like with each drawer in its cabinet is a table, and inside each drawer there are folders arranged in rows and columns. So similar kind of structure, and the setup helps keep everything neat and tidy. So interesting fact, Even Softr is built with like on top of an SQL database. It's able to handle large amounts of data very, very smoothly. So probably wondering how they're different to other data sources that Softr integrates with, like Airtable or Google Sheets. And basically they come down to two things: so structure and complexity, and also scalability. So they're really different in that they're more powerful and structured, and that helps you manage data in just a more efficient way, really, when it comes to large amounts of data. So with structure and complexity, could say Google Sheets and Airtable are more like like lightweight digital versions of paper spreadsheets, Google Sheets especially. And they're great for organizing basic information and handling various tasks. The SQL data sources are kind of like a much scaled up version, and they can handle much more complex relationships with different pieces of information, ensuring everything stays consistent and accurate at scale. And the advantages of that in Software is it's really more efficient data management. Allows you to store, retrieve vast amounts of information quite effortlessly. So the other thing to just point out is data integrity and consistency. So you're more likely to get better integrity and consistency with a well set up SQL database as well. So it ensures all information is accurate and consistent, and that you can trust the data within your software applications, knowing it's today and reliable. As for many of our users, scalability is going to be a big one. So if you use Airtable, Google Sheet, the tools work well for small amounts of data and simpler projects. However, as your data grows, this might slow you down, and you might become less efficient with how your app performs and how you're able to manage data at scale. SQL really is built to handle large amounts of data without slowing you down. You can add more and more data and run things smoothly, no matter how big your app grows, out of record. So really, Software's biggest advantage with SQL here is just being able to handle large scale applications and grow with increasing amounts of data.
And I'd also say to accept data from wherever your company already has data, since it's such a popular database, your company might already have, a database the last 10 years as SQL that you can now attach software to and bring new insights to life with that data.
That's exactly right. As I said, SQL's been long around before Airtable, and people have been building database management systems and app various things for a long time. Being able to easily connect to that database and build things on top of it's essentially just building an extension of whatever functionality you've built already, in a much easier, quicker way with Software now that you can integrate your SQL database. So there are some common use cases, so we can explore some practical examples here. And I've segmented these by customer type to give you a better idea of who's probably more likely to take on what kind of case. So for SMB, CRMs are quite popular in that CRM will probably have been using an SQL database in one way or another to store customer information and contact details and histories of your interaction with that customer. So a great example use case with Software is you could build a very user-friendly CRM application on top of your SQL database. And that'll allow you to do a bunch of different things. I'm sure you're all aware of with Software. Another example is project management. So you can create project management database within Software, or in fact, you already have a lot of information about project, campaign, tasks stored of various clients within a database already, and you can build on top of that with Software, just to think much easier and lighter, that pulls directly from your SQL database. A couple of big ones for e-commerce companies, inventory management. So, a lot of companies track inventory or all that information online within an SQL database. And Software really provides a great interface for you to be able to build that inventory management on top of it. Same goes for e-commerce operations. So there's a lot of data information or the detail in customer data that generally stored in an SQL database. So you can build an app on top of it with Softr as well. So do things like search for products, order tracking, um, look at profiles, what we're buying, and that kind of thing. Larger enterprises, this is where you start to see a lot of data coming through your SQL database. And large enterprises will most of the time have data on everything. So if they're a software company, they'll have production data. If they're got a huge kind of operational teams, they'll have HR teams, finance teams storing data in SQL. And that's a great solution for reporting and analytics on that data as well. And importantly, just being able to share the right data to the right person and knowing that you have that security and control as well. And lastly, just content heavy businesses. So I'm sure there's few of you out there that need to store a lot of articles, blog posts, multimedia files, and that kind in SQL databases just because it takes up so much storage space. So SQL is a great option for that. And with Software, you can easily build the content management, making it easy to create, edit, publish content. So that's another great use case. But enough of the introductories. We can jump straight into just building a quick scenario for you. So we have an SQL database containing customer data, and we've added a new ticket table to track customer issues. So really want to try to demonstrate what would be the start of building a customer support portal, which is quite a good use case for a bigger size, maybe tech enabled type company or any company really that wants to provide a good customer experience. This will be able to book into your database already, and you can extend some functionality for your team. So I'll share my screen.
Awesome. Before we get into the live build, we just have one quick question from Phil. His question was, do you have plans to open the backend DB to Soho tables? I'm not sure I've seen Zoho on the roadmap. What about you, James?
Yeah, not at this stage. So right now, SQL database integration covers Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, MariaDB. So anything built on those systems will work. But the table, not at this stage.
Yeah,
But
maybe
as
that's
with everything,
something. Sorry to interrupt you. Maybe that's something down the line where when we launch an API, a REST API connector, that might be like an ability there to grab it that way.
exactly.
But I'm sure there'll be a way to get access to the Zoho tables. We're not quite there either as a native source or as a REST API integration, but we'll be sure to keep you updated there. We have one more question from Jose. Are store procedures supported when calling actions from DMBS? I'm not quite sure what this means. Do you know, James?
Could you repeat that? Sorry,
Yeah, it's on the screen here too. Are
Sure.
store procedures supported when calling actions from DMBs?
I'll have to double check. Sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I double check with our CTO after. We can provide more answers on the technical nature of the integration. But
Yeah,
maybe after this we can follow up on
yeah.
that.
We'll try to get back to you on that one, Jose. All right, James, what do we got here? So customer support portal powered by SQL. We see your screen up and running.
All right, let me just give me one second. Moving a few things around here. So as with any new data source, the first thing you want to be able to do is connect the data source. Um, so as you can see, a bunch of data sources already. I'm just going to take you through that process. So I want to connect the data source to my workspace, and you'll see a bunch of options here. But we're demonstrating SQL today. So you'll see this SQL option. If you click that, you'll be able to specify where exactly your data lives. So as I said, we've got Postgres, we've got MySQL, SQL Server and MariaDB. Today, I'm going to be using a first instance. I just click that and next, and then you've got the connection screen. So the first option here is the name, and this is really what you want to call the connection with your SQL database and Softr. So today we're going to just be starting to create a customer portal. So we'll call it that. And all this information should be available within your RDBA system that you're using. So for me, that database name is Postgres. I'm just going to copy across the username and password. And I need some all right, and that's everything that's required to connect. Connect. That should run smoothly. And that's how it works. So you can see that data source is being added. Awesome. So I'm going to jump over to a customer portal. So this is an app that I've created the foundations for. And I just want to run you through what it's like adding a block to Softr and connecting that to your SQL database. So I'm going to start with, as I said, this is a customer support portal, and we've added a new table called ticket. So I'm going to add a group block here with the ticket table to show you how that works with SQL. So I'm going to look for our new grid block, which is right here. And as you do, if you're new to Softr or not, first thing is always selecting a data source when you're connecting a block. So as you can see, they've all popped up here. All prior existing connections, as you saw before as well, are here. This is the one I want to use today. So this Postgres portal. And the next thing that you'll be required to do is select the database. Postgres, you would have seen that on the prior screen as well. And then the schema. So for me, it's just public. And the new ticket table we're talking about is from here. So you also see an option for query here. I'll jump back to that in a few minutes time. First, let's just jump into mapping the tickets data. So I've selected that. And the first thing you want to be able to do is match them like some data. So if you've used Airtable, you might have noticed that we do some auto mapping to automatically map some of these fields. Right now, that's not available for SQL databases, but it will be in the near future. So first thing I want to be able to do is map a heading. So as you can see, all the fields from your SQL database from the ticket tables will be pulled through here. If I'm looking at ticket, I think it might be helpful to look at the heading, and then I'll display the description as well. I don't have any images to display, so that's what cover media refers to here, is if you have an image or a URL that you want to be able to provide, and something more visual to use for your listing. But I don't have the page, and neither with cover media tab, since I don't have cover media. So I'm just going to hide those for the moment. And maybe the only other thing that I want to add here might be the agent ID, because we're talking about a customer support portal, so agents need to be able to know who's assigned a specific ticket. In fact, I might just add the agent email. We make sense. There, I can update the labels, so assigned to. Great. So that's really as easy as it takes with connecting a data source, mapping some data, and it kind of displays. So that's quite simple. And the next kind of thing that I want to show you as well is just cool kind of UI elements making this block more powerful for you. So first thing is just search bar. So you can search for any item. So you can pick which fields you want to search by as well. So subject, description, that'll probably be helpful. Maybe you just want to select, actually agent email is probably not necessary. So you can search by any subject or description, and you'll be able to search through. I think I've got over 1,000 tickets in this database. So you can search for things and that will filter down the results for you.
So
Um,
adding multiple options there allows you to search by multiple things, multiple fields?
that's exactly right. So you can add as many or as few as you like, and you can yeah, just type the search bar when you preview or you publish the app, and you can type by what the subject or description might be in this case.
Beautiful.
And the other thing that I might want to do is just add a filter. So if I just want to look at tickets assigned to specific agents, I might want to add an agent's filter, and ask people to search by the agent email. So again, something that is not yet supported with SQL databases, but is with Suite and Airtable, its ability to sync options with data source. Not currently available, so you need to type manually some options here. So I'll just type a few. So yeah, cool. And it's as easy as that.
Which probably wouldn't work well for emails if you have thousands of emails, but other fields could probably maybe work better.
That's right. That's right. So not an ideal state not having this enabled for SQL. It will be something we work on in future. But the idea with some of our data sources and our strategy really is to get them out kind of faster rather than making sure they're perfect, that people get some kind of value from the ability to connect directly. So although this might make things a bit more frictional when building an app, we see it as more valuable getting that breaking out faster. But rest assured, we do plan to bring data sources up to parity with our first and probably most well-built data source, Airtable and Spark Suite. So that's that. I've got a filter. I've set up search bar. And maybe the only other thing that I think it would be helpful to do is to set action. Before I do that, there's another field here called, I don't want to play here. Here. Agent notes. When you're dealing with support tickets, you want to be able to add some information, and it's helpful for that uh, internal collaboration. I've done that, and we want to jump over to actions. So actions, if you have or haven't used them before, it really gives you the ability to be able to create, update or delete records within your database. You can see we pre-added one here called add record. You're going to move that though, and really add an item button. So as I said, you can either add or you can edit or delete records. Then there are a bunch of other options that don't directly interact with your database that work from this point as well. So in details page, scroll to open URL. This is another big point of focus for us at the moment, just being able to add as many actions as possible. And the latest one is call API here, which allows you to hit an API endpoint, which is a really cool feature that we've added. It's going to add an add record, an edit record action button. You can see the canvas update, and you'll see kind of a form setup option that we need to configure at this point. So subjects, likely we want to edit that. So again, this is a similar experience to just mapping fields, but now you're mapping like an edit and total that'll pop up once you click that. So subject, want to add a label here. The subject, yep. I want to be able to edit the description. And yeah, I might just want to be able to adjust who I assign to before we're using. All right. And so that, and then the agent notes, yeah, that's the main thing that we want to do, or agents at least anyway. Awesome. So we've kind of enabled that, and that's really all it takes to be able to edit and cool. So I've kind of, as again, I'll go through. I added a data source. I mapped some field, added some cool UI components to that filter and the search, and now I've just added an action. And this really gives you a super powerful way, one, to be able to view the data that's coming from your SQL database, but then be able to give your users control of interacting with that data. So if you're looking for some more control, the next best thing you'd want to do when creating an app is syncing your users. We can do that now. So um, over in the user tab here, there's the connected data source button. And in your data source, ideally you have a users table. So I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So, I'm jumping through the same steps as I would be connecting a block. But this time I want to select the user table. It's going to allow me to sync all my users so they can be, they can have access to my customer portal. So the only really required field here is email, but you have a few other options as well. So I'm just going to hit save and sync. And that should just take a moment to sync through. Rare submissions. Okay. Doesn't help. Let me try again. Okay. As it happens with running a demo, something's running wrong. But I'm just gonna run through, use myself as an example. Generally that'll just work. You don't really need to do anything otherwise, and all the users would just appear down here, and that would think as normal. But if we jump back to actually
User groups,
thing,
yeah.
yeah, user group. So to be able to use you know, visibility control and be able to restrict users to be able to see certain things, the first thing you need to be able to do is create a user group. I want to create an agent group because for this portal, we'll have two types of users. So we'll have the customers that are submitting their issues, and then we'll have the agents that are triaging and working on these issues. I'm just going to create an agent user group, and I'm going to add, now they're appearing finally. So it looks like the sync worked somehow. That might have been like a front end error popping up for no helpful reason. But as you can see, the sync has worked, and there's a bunch of users here. So I want to look for one of the agents.
One of the great things about user groups is it allows you to assign permissions to certain groups, right? Simply that. And so if you have a group that maybe you want to give edit access to, that could be like your admins, your managers, etc. They can have a manager group. And then if you want to have a group where maybe they're just your customer support, but you don't want them to edit any data, you can create a group for them as well for maybe customer support. And then you can use conditional visibility to hide the edit button for that user group if that user is logged in that user group. And so it's just another way that these user groups can allow you to control who has access to what data, who can see what action buttons, who can see what pages, what blocks, etc. So it's a really powerful feature that we have here.
That's exactly right. Thanks, JJ. And another really easy way to be able to set up those filters is just dynamically as well. So you can either add specific users manually, or you can look at the field that they belong to on the users table and specify that field to determine which user group they go into. So got user type here, and if we just call this agent, that's going to put all agents within this agents user group here. So I'll go ahead and save that, and that as easy as it gets to. Something I just want to call out here is data restrictions as well, because this is a really powerful feature for being able to limit the data that users can interact with. So this can go down to right down to a record, and such as how I just showed you, dynamically adding people to user groups. You can dynamically prevent users from either viewing, adding, creating, or deleting a specific record within your database. So this will apply at an application level. You can set these up as you like, and then the application build process. And this will ensure that you have users only viewing the data that you specified, or the data that is relevant to them that is needed. So this is really good kind of security feature here. But sadly, it's not available just yet with SQL data sources. It's being worked on currently. So that you should expect that to be available in the next few weeks or so. We won't jump through there because it's not yet available for SQL databases.
Yeah, global data restrictions is just a fantastic option. It's one of the things where if you need to ensure that data doesn't get through, that when it shouldn't get through, global data restrictions is not only really easy to use, but it applies at that app level. So you apply it once for that user group, and you can rest assured that that data wouldn't leak in any way if you forgot to add a conditional filter or something like that. So it's one of my favorite things. And I'm so glad that we launched this recently because it's so powerful and simple.
It sure is. Thanks, JJ. And just wanted to touch back on what JJ was referring to before about block and page visibility. So now that we've set up a user group, we can actually jump into page settings here and be able to specify visibility. So right now, all users can see this page, but if we select logged in user here, it'll ask us which user groups are able to see this page. So I can say only agent can see this page, which is a really great way of being able to make sure that you've got an experience that's scalable. People are only seeing the data needed for them. So I can hit save on that. And then you can also do it at that block visibility as well. Click onto the block. There's a tab right at the end here called visibility. So I can do the exact same thing. Or if you've got different user groups, you can do different things, show different blocks and pages to different people. So on top of the data restriction, which is a good way to be able to make sure that people have access to the right records. This visibility option lets you have control over the right to view specific pages and block on those pages as well. Great. So that's everything that I wanted to build. We can go ahead and preview. I think I'm just going to have to share my screen. All right. All right. Just loading. The one that I wanted to see.
We have a question from Boris here. Do these user groups work with enterprise SSO like AD over SML with, I don't know how to say that last one, but user groups work with enterprise, yes. Do you see this on your side, James?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just about to change it. So as I was walking through sorry, you're talking about the question?
Yeah.
So do user groups work with enterprise SSO like AD FNL? Yeah, they should do. I don't think there's any reason they wouldn't. I haven't actually tried out that functionality myself. But if you've got users in your software application, then they're gonna be able to work with user groups. So enterprises, so it's just a matter of getting users into the database. They're coming across from like another source. It should still work with you, the group, if you're dynamically adding them to those to those user group conditionally.
We have another one from Jose. Is there a way to populate dynamically a drop-down list with data from query, with the data from a query from the database? This is a tough one. So is there a way to populate dynamically a drop-down list control with data from a query to the database? I don't know if you could do it from a query, but maybe you can, because if you set up that listing with the query, and then if you have like a drop down within that listing, it's already filtered that way. James, what do you think?
Yeah, so if you want to be able to populate data with the query, that's not going to be possible to start with. So the way that we use query and Softr is to be able to retrieve data. Right now, we're not letting you query to update data. So I think there's a couple of levels to that question, but because you can't update data with a query, that first one concern is not going to be possible. So not quite yet.
We have another one here from Steven. Is it possible to give record level permissions for specific users? I believe so. You just have to set up your user groups properly to ensure that, on the record level, you're kind of indicating, maybe what user group they are or something along that line. And then that way you can use that dynamic content to create that user group. and make sure that they're either in it or not. And because of that, you can filter that listing to either show that content, that table record or not. Way.
Yeah, that's right, Jaded. So essentially, that is just making the most of um, global data restrictions. So the global data restrictions, you can control user group that have specific access to a specific record. So that goes all the way down to the record. To the
Yeah, and you can
record level.
also accomplish it with conditional filters on that table or that listing block as well, just to make sure that that data isn't coming through and you're getting that permission at the record level. So yeah,
That is right. That is right. I just have the preview set up. If we can jump back
great.
there,
Why don't
one
you share your
question to the
screen when you're
moment.
ready? Any other questions? Let us know. We're kind of approaching maybe the last 10 minutes of this. So if you have any questions, let us know to make sure we can get to it in time.
Exactly. So this is the preview, and so this is everything that you're seeing. So this is not the published app yet. So you'll see a publish button back in the studio. So this is just the preview of the portal at the moment as well. So as you can see, this is what it looks like. We've mapped a few tickets across. All that data is coming through. We have the ability to edit it. I'll just take a second.
Also, another question here from Jose. Can I select a view instead of a table as a data source?
Yes. So yes. So that'll look like the way it'll look like when you're selecting the table. It will still be the same. A view should appear within
Great.
within and amongst the tables.
Great. Awesome. So
Also,
we have
this
this update
is
record pop up. That's looking great.
exactly. And so as an agent, like you might want to just add some notes. So um, and it can be as easy as that. And so that'll update, and that'll update your SQL database. Um, and so really powerful way to be able to interact with your data. The only last thing I wanted to show you, so I'll jump back off this preview again, and I'll jump back into Softr Studio. The only other thing I want to show you is what we mentioned in a question before, which is querying. So as you can see, jumping through the source here, you have an option when selecting a table to select query. And this will be able to retrieve the data that you want as if you were querying a database. So you have the option to just write a query here. So for me, this is the tickets table, but I also have that users table. So I might want to combine that ticket information with the relevant user that made that ticket. So I could just write something like select all from tickets, join users, tickets, custom ID, which I think is the right field, and use. And this will allow me to join information between the tickets table and also the users table. And the way that SQL databases is set up is they usually have a primary or foreign key, so a primary and a foreign key that is able to identify how these two records relate, which are in two different tables. So unlike Airtable, which kind of handles it in a very cool, simple way with linked records, with SQL, you have to define these yourself. And to be able to join, you have to do something like this to write a query and to retrieve that data and connect it up to your block. So I'm going to hit save.
So
That's
just to
just
simplify that, that is a join. You probably just got a little bit of a character wrong there, but that's a join between two tables with your tickets and your customer users table there. That's awesome.
exactly right. Love doing troubleshooting.
If-
Well,
I think the point is established. I think we can X out of that. It's okay.
yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's kind of essentially what it is. And so once you've got that query set up there, you essentially it essentially works in the same way as if you were connecting a table. Really, if you pull across the exact data that you want, and it pulls through, and then you're able to map that content. Right.
Awesome. We got two questions here. We got one from Steven and one from Jose. From Steven, is it possible to filter data using user groups and conditional logic such that each user can only see data belonging to them, even though all the data is stored in the same database table? Of course it is, Steven. That is a core thing that we can do. Again, you can control who sees what data at every single level. So if you want to make sure that the logged in user can only see the logged in user's data, absolutely. If you want to make it so you have, for example, like a coach and a manager, and the coach can only see the coach's data. So when they log in, they can only see their data. That's fine. And then you can create another user group for the manager. And let's say the manager has a list of coaches that he manages, and he wants to be able to see all of their data as well. You can also set up your permissions with your data structure to also allow that manager to log in and to see all the coaches that he works with and all of their related calls and all that kind of stuff too. So your data is your data, and you can structure who sees, who doesn't see, who edits, who doesn't edit, who deletes, who doesn't delete every step of the way. So you're in full control there. Awesome. Jose, thank you for your active participation. Love it. Jose says, how Softr handles data sets that combine two tables linked by relation. Let's say table client and table invoice with a 1N relation. Whew.
So on the first point, connecting this data. So if you want to pull data across from a linked table or terminology, then you'll need to use a query to be able to pull across both the data, or both of the tables from that data. At the moment, there's a way to be able to update, so update or edit or delete records that are connected to a block that's connected via a query. So that's another thing that we're working on at the moment. It's not currently supported. So if you connect a block to a query, which is how you would combine these two tables, you wouldn't be able to update, edit or delete or add a record at this stage because that requires some technical nuance. But there is a solution that we're working on that let's kind of identify the kind of right key to be able to match the two tables that we can do things like link it up to the list details block and link up action buttons. So yeah, in summary, connect via query if you want to join the two tables, but you'll run into limitations if you want to update that data.
Thank you, James. This is a brand new integration, hot off the press. We're going to continue to add more features, more functionality to it. We hope you all love it. We hope it opens up the doors for you to access your data in ways that is just easier than ever before. You know, SQL is such a great database, but typically one of the things that is hard about it is it typically requires an engineer in order to use it. Now with Softr, hopefully it doesn't, right? And anyone on your team that you want to access it can access it. And then you can define those user permissions at their level too. So hopefully this opens up a slate of possibilities for you, your orgs, your clients. And thank you for your active participation tonight in chat. It's always a pleasure doing these for you guys. If you have suggestions, comments for any kind of future events, any kind of future learnings, let us know. Otherwise, we really appreciate you all for tuning in. We have some more data sources along the way. We have some new feature updates coming along the way. We're shipping quickly. We appreciate you guys being a part of our community. And James, great job. Thanks for putting this on tonight.
No drama. Good to meet everyone, and hopefully you find that all helpful.
Awesome. Have a good night, y'all.